Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel again. We are on site. No, it's not our house, but we're on site at one of our neighbors' homes that is under construction in our subdivision. We thought this was a great backdrop for you guys to see for this next topic that we're going to cover. But we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, this is Dream Home on a Budget, and we appreciate you guys tuning in again to our channel today, guys. So we're going to talk about some awesome topics today. I think it's going to be some really good information for you. You're going to really enjoy it. So don't touch that dial. Wow, I know it's been a while since we've dropped a video, and we really do apologize for that. We just had a lot going on. You know, life has a way of getting in the way, and we've been through quite a bit in the last 6 months or so. All good stuff, nothing negative. Just just positive things that we've had to kind of take care of and prioritize. And so we haven't really been shooting much content, but we're still on our journey with building the home and creating this custom home that we've talked about in our previous videos. And so we just wanted to do a quick video to check in with you guys. But today's topic, what we really wanted to talk about was something that we get asked almost probably once or twice a week every time we see somebody that we know or we cross paths with, like our neighbors or whomever, right? And the question is it's always like, when are you going to build your house? Where are you in the process? What's taking so long? Where are you at this point? So, sometimes the question kind of drives me crazy because, we understand that there's a whole lot involved in building a custom home. It's not something you just snap your fingers and it's done overnight. But unfortunately, the people who ask those questions, typically they don't fully understand how much it takes to actually get to the point where you can break ground, let alone finish the house. So that's what this video is about today. We're going to talk all about the process, right? Let's call it trusting the process. Okay. All right. So we're going to jump into it in a minute, guys. But before we get into that, guys, do me a huge favor. Do us a huge favor. Please tap that like button for me. Hit that thumbs up. Also, guys, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, tell a friend about our channel. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about this process, right? Okay. So before I kind of lay out our process, I think it's important to understand as a standard of comparison how a custom home is built in the process from start to finish, and how it compares to building a house, say with like a spec builder, right? And how their process works. Okay, so if you're familiar, if you've built a house before with a spec builder, and a spec builder basically is a builder who has like a set number of plans that they've already put together. You pick from one of those plans that they have. It may be 10, 15, 20 different plans, and you choose a plan that you'd like to build, and they build that exact plan, right? And they may give you some options to change, where you can change the exterior of the house. You can pick the interior finishes, the flooring, the paint, what have you, the fixtures. And they might even give you some options where you can maybe add a garage, or you can maybe move a door here, move a wall here, but some minor adjustments. But basically, you have to stick to whatever their floor plan is without making minimal changes, right? And that's kind of a spec builder, because most of the homes are built to what they call a certain specification. That's what the spec stands for. It's specification for short. So anyways, that's a different experience, because when you walk in, they've already got everything established. The plans, the architect's already done pretty much for the most part. They know what size the house is going to be. All the homework, the guesswork is pretty much done, because they have already built that house probably multiple times. And so there's already kind of a blueprint of how to do it, right? So the process takes much shorter. And in that particular case, all you're doing is you're going in, you're picking out your plan, you're picking out your finishes, and then you're getting the approval to start construction. They build the house, 90, 120, maybe 6 months, the house is finished. You close on the loan, and that's it. But you're not actually going into a bank to say, hey, I want to build this house, and you're not getting a construction loan to actually build the house. You're not coordinating the trades, the folks that come and actually do all the different phases of the project. You're just basically signing your name at the start of the process, picking out the stuff that you want, and then they build it. And then, like I said, 6 months later, your house is ready, right? Okay, so that's That's like your typical process with like a spec builder or like a semi-custom builder. And we've done that before with, we did that with Partners in Building, and we also did that with First Texas Homes. We built 2 homes with them, and I would consider them both kind of semi-custom. Partners in Buildings are probably a little bit more they're probably a little closer to a custom builder, but even with them, you still have plans that you have to pick from that they go off of rather than like starting from complete scratch. Okay. So now I want to talk about our process and what we've been doing with a custom built home, like a true custom built home. So a true custom built home is one where you literally start from scratch. When you talk about the floor plan, right? You don't have necessarily a plan that you can go and say, hey, I like that plan. I want to build that house. You're literally designing this house from scratch, from the door to the front door to the back door. You're designing it from scratch. And so you're having to work with an architect, and you're giving the architect some of the ideas that you want, some of the things that you need in the house, the must-haves, the non-negotiables. And you might also have some pictures and some examples of things that you might like. And the architect will take all that information and they'll come up with a floor plan. They'll sketch it out, and then they'll sit down with you, go over the sketch, and you kind of like exchange ideas back and forth on what you like, what you dislike, what you want to add, what you want to take off, all those different things, right? And it's a constant back and forth between you and the architect, right? And so then they take those sketch plans, those sketch drawings, they turn those into digital drawings, right, in AutoCAD, and then they give you those drawings, and then you go over those drawings with a fine-tooth comb, and you make your notes. You make your notes where you want to make changes and adjustments and things of that nature to the plan. Then those notes go back to the architect. They make the changes that you have suggested, and then they create another set of plans, and you look at those. And it's basically like that process over and over again. It's them giving you preliminary drawings, you marking those drawings up, making your changes to them. They taking them back, make the edits, and they give you another set of preliminary drawings until you get to a comfort level to where you feel that everything in the house is exactly how you want it, right? That's the first base level. So just to kind of dig into that a little bit more, an architect, okay, you might ask the question, so what does it cost to hire an architect? So an architect for us, we actually spoke to a couple of architects. We talked to probably 3 or 4 different architects, and they typically charge $1 amount per square footage, okay? So what we found was that we talked to probably 2 or 3 architects, and the price range from $1.75 to $4.50 a square foot, okay? And the square footage is based off of the total square footage that's under roof. So that means the interior living space, which is sometimes they refer to as the heated and cooled space, and also anything that's under the roof, like a covered patio, a covered porch, or a garage, right? So an attached garage. So anything that's under the roof line, that's considered total square footage. So they base their payment off of that. Now, in our case, the few architects we talked to that were in the $4 plus range, they were way out of our budget. We just couldn't, we couldn't justify spending that much for the architect, and we quite honestly just didn't want to pay that much, right? So we got lucky. We found an architect who was a referral from this company that we took some builder classes from called Built Green, and they recommended this gentleman. His name is Stephen Broussard, and you've seen him in some of our videos that we've posted before. So Stephen, his rate is normally $2 a square foot, okay, which is already sort of on the lower end of the scale that we've seen so far. But because we were referred by Built Green, he also was gracious enough to give us a discount. So he dropped his rate to $1.75 a square foot. So that's what we pay for our architect, $1.75 a square foot. And the neat thing is, Stephen, he allows us to break that up into phases. So typically you pay like 25% up front as a retainer. Then you pay like another 25%, which would then put you at the 50% mark. And then depending on where he is in the process, he starts with the floor plans first, and then he transitions into the next phase, which is the elevations. And then the last kind of final part is like the full set of plans. It has the roof line, the structural stuff, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all that stuff, right? So a full set of plans. So by the time you're done, by the time you get to a full set of plans, you will have paid the full amount, right? So just to put that into perspective, in the house that we're building, our ticket for the architect is going to be roughly about $15,000, okay? And I know you're saying that's probably a lot of money, but and it is a lot of money, but it's absolutely necessary in order to build a custom home, because you can't just build it without floor plans, and you have to have an architect design, or an architectural designer has to design those plans in order for you to get the permit to build a house. So it's there's no way around it. In other words, you got to do it. Okay, so then also on top of that, once you get the plans done, which by the way, our process has taken so far, and this may vary from person to person. Your situation may be different from ours, but our process from start to finish so far, we started in November of 2022, and it is now what is this?
December of 2023.
This is December 2023, right? So right as it stands right now, we are a year and 1 month into our process with the architect, and we still aren't finished yet. We're just now getting to the phase where we're doing elevations, right? We're doing elevations, and so that is where we are. So it's taken us literally 13 months just to get to that point. And in between that time period, there were a number of occasions where we changed our mind, and you will find yourself doing the same exact thing throughout the process, because your taste changes, your ideas, new ideas come to mind. Things that you thought you might have wanted before, you realize, I really don't need that. So then that changes your perspective on things. So we went from being like a 2-story to a 1.5 story to now we decided to go with just a straight 1 story, right? And every time that we switch from those different heights, from 2 to 1.5 to a 1, that was like a significant change that had to be made with those plans and those drawings. So I think that's part of what prolonged the process for us. And then we there were times where we couldn't quite come to an agreement on what we wanted in certain things, which will happen. You will have some disagreements with your spouse when you're going through this process. And sometimes, it's a stalemate. Sometimes you just can't stand each other, and you just end up walking away from the table and just, saying like, hey man, I'm just gonna go to sleep because I'm frustrated right now. I can't deal with this right now. But eventually the both of you will come around. You'll come to some type of agreement. In some instances, there may be some compromise, or you may have to give a little. They might have to give a little, but eventually at the end of the day, you come together and you figure it out, right? So anyways, so the architecture process, that's, like I said, you can pretty much count on. I think realistically for us, we are probably, because we're already at a year and a month right now, I think realistically we probably got like another 6 months on top of where we are now. So you can say pretty much a year and a half long is what it's going to take us just to do the architect process, right? Now, once the architecture plans are complete and we have a complete set of plans, a couple things have to happen. One, we need to go to an engineer to get certified structural engineer plans, which is basically they're going to tell us exactly what we need to know in terms of the slab foundation, what type of foundation we need. They're going to also tell us what type of beams and structural pieces we need for the house. And it's all going to be, stamped and certified by a licensed engineer. That's absolutely required. And I think that's something like $4 a square foot or $3 a square foot. Or I can't remember exactly what the number is, but it may be less. It may be more like $2. But whatever it is, you got to pay. You got to have it. There's no way around it, right? So then, so that's one part. The next part is we've got to have our plans approved by our homeowners association, or HOA. So in our neighborhood, we have an HOA, and they control certain things in the neighborhood, like the aesthetics of the homes and how they're supposed to look. And they want to try to maintain a certain image for the neighborhood. So everything has to be approved by the HOA. Now, the HOA process to approve it is they have a board who reviews the drawings, but then they also send it out to a third party. It's an architectural review company who looks over it as well, and they do their review. And that process can take anywhere from probably 4 to 6 months, depending on how quickly they get it back to you. So you got to add that to the equation. So you figure year and a half for the architectural plans. You figure 4 to 6 months for the approval from the HOA. Once the HOA approves it, then from that point, once you got the HOA in your corner and then they're okay with you building that house, then we got to go to the builders. We have to identify a builder who's actually going to build the house for us. And when I say builder, what I'm really referring to is a general contractor. A general contractor is someone who basically manages the entire project, and they manage all of the different trades and the subcontractors like the plumbers, the electrical people, the slab foundation people, the people that do the roofing, all the framers. They coordinate all those different individual groups and make sure that the house comes in under budget, and then make sure that it comes in on time, and they coordinate timing and all that good stuff, right? So once we get like I said, the approval from HOA, the next thing is we have to identify a builder. So and you have different structures of builders, right? Some companies you come across, they're like these large organizations that have, they build homes all over the country, and they have, they build several thousands of homes a year. And then you got some that are more like individual sole proprietorship, sole owner contractors, general contractors who it may be just one person, and he or she might only build 4 or 5 homes a year, right? And that's kind of the pace that they build homes. Well, so then what happens to happen is we have to take our drawings and put them in the hands of a builder. And preferably, we're going to probably do 2 or 3 builders. And then what they're going to do is they're going to take our plans and they're going to bid on the construction of that house. And so what they'll give us is basically an estimate or a quote, if you will, that's going to tell us, okay, this is how much it's going to cost if I build your house. Okay. So then once you collect 2 or 3 bids from general contractors or home builders, then you kind of make a decision. Okay, of the 3 or 4 bids that I have, which of these 3 or 4 bids, or which of these is my favorite? What's my favorite? What's my least favorite? And what's the secondary? Plan B, plan A, plan B. Then once you make your final choice on the one you want to move forward with, then you've got to take that bid and your plans. You got to take that to the bank who's going to actually lend you the money for the construction loan. Okay. So you can probably, if you assign a time value to what it takes, how long it takes to get a bid back, you figure, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months, 30 to 60 days for them to put together a bid for you. And then once you get that bid and you make your choice on which bid you go with, then you got to choose the lender. You choose the lender, you put that in the lender's hands. And then what the lender does is basically you fill out a mortgage application for the construction loan. So they pull your financials just like they do for any other mortgage. And then they also do an appraisal on your property, because you have to own the property, or at least have the property in your possession that you're going to build a house on. And they also do an appraisal on the plans, the actual floor plans. So they do an appraisal as if the house is built today. If it was actually standing today in today's market, they give you an appraisal based on what they think the house is worth, okay, or what it would be worth if it was standing today. And then once you get that value for the land and the value for the house, then they take that dollar amount and they say, okay, based on the value of the house and the value of the land together, this is what we think it's worth, and we can lend you up to 90% of whatever that value is, right? So let's say if the house is worth, if they think the house and the land together is worth $1 million, the most that they'll lend us is $900,000. Okay. Now the key is what the best possible scenario is if the amount that they're willing to lend you is more than what your builder has bid to build the home. That's what you want. That's the key. That is the optimal situation, because that's the situation that puts you in the best position, because it puts you in a position where you don't have to put anything down except for closing costs, or B, it leaves enough cushion to where if the house ends up being costing more to build than you thought originally, you got a little bit of room. You got a little bit of room in there to absorb that extra cost. So let's say in this scenario, our house appraises for $1 million by the bank, and they can lend us $900,000. But our contractor, our general contractor, our builder has told us, hey, your house is going to cost you $750 to build. Okay, so $750,000 is obviously less than $900,000. So we got $150,000 in there to play with if we need to, kind of as a contingency, right? So that's kind of how that works. So then, once you get the number, the final number, what it's going to cost to build your house, how much the lender is going to give you to build the house, and you know how much the difference is between the two, Then you once they give you the approval, so the lender we're going with is going. They do what's called a one-time close. Most of construction lenders, they do a two-time close. So you close once at the beginning of the process when they give you the construction loan. You actually sign documents just like you do a mortgage loan. You put your down payment, and then 12 months later or whatever it takes, you come back, you do another loan where they take the loan and they make it a permanent loan. They convert it from a construction loan to a conventional mortgage loan. Well, our lender that we're going with, which most likely will be TDECU, they have a really great program where it's a single close, a one-time close. So when we close on the dotted line, we sign on the dotted line that first time on the front end, we don't have to close again, right? So they don't have to go through the whole process of pulling our credit again, doing through our financials and all that stuff. Once we do it on the front end, we're locked in, we're good to go. Once the house is finished, what we'll do is we'll go back and sign what they call a modification. And the modification process is basically the process where they flip that construction loan into a permanent loan, to a permanent, mortgage loan, right? Traditional mortgage loan. So that's important to note, because let's say for instance, you start construction on a house in January and things are going great. And then let's say by July, let's say you or your wife loses your job. You lose a job or something happens in the family that impacts you from a financial standpoint. Well, with the way that we're doing it with TDECU, with a one-time close, me losing my job or my wife losing her job, it wouldn't impact our situation. We could still move forward with the loan. We can still move forward with building the house, because they're not going to have to pull our finances again and look at our credit or look at our job history or anything like that, because that's all done on the front end. But if you go to a bank that does a two-time close, that second closing that happens 12 months later after the house is finished, they're going to go through that same process all over again. They're going to pull your credit. They're going to look at your background. They're going to look at your job history, all that stuff. And if they uncover at that point that you have lost a job or your income has changed somehow, then chances are that could put your loan in jeopardy. And they may say, you know what, this is too much of a risk, and we don't want to move forward. So it could put you in a situation where you may end up losing the house that you just built. So that's something to think about. So consider that. Think about that one-time close versus two-time close. Okay, so now you've got your construction loan. You know what it's going to cost to build a house. You know how much money you got to put down. You got all those things in a row. Now now the magic happens, right? This is where everything starts to come into place and the house is ready to be built. Now, if you're building a custom home, any custom home that's built right, you can go ahead and plan for 12 months off the rip. So if somebody tells you they can build your custom home in less than 12 months, chances are they're cutting some corners somewhere. They're doing something that is going to jeopardize or it's going to compromise the quality of the house. So if it's a quality built custom home, I would even say 10 to 12 months. But I think anything less than probably 9-10 months is suspect. 6 months, oh no, that's something not right. If they can put a custom home up in 6 months, it's not a custom home. That's a spec home, right? So beware of that as well. If they tell you they can have you in a custom home, anything less than I'll be really conservative. Anything less than 8 months, I'll say that. Okay, if they tell they can put you in a custom home, anything less than 8 months, I would be very cautious. Okay, mark my words. Be very cautious. All right. Okay, so guys, I've given you a rundown of pretty much what you can expect, and kind of told you a little bit about our situation and what we're dealing with. So if you're doing the math, if you were keeping up with what I was saying, all those different phases from the architectural design process to the bid process, the HOA process, the lending process, all those different steps, those take time. And then of course the actual building of the house, those take times. So if you were doing the math in your head and just keeping up with it, realistically, you can probably plan for probably a year and a half, maybe even 2 years before you can actually turn the key and walk into your new home. Okay. So again, when people ask us the question, where are you in the process? That's the answer, right? So and it doesn't happen overnight. Again, it takes time. Realistically for us, we've set a goal for ourselves to try to be in the house by 2025. I'm thinking probably like the end of 25. But if things happen, things get in the way, it may get pushed. But that's our goal, to try to be in the house by then. So, and we're not in a hurry. I mean, obviously we wanted to move faster, as fast as it can move, but on the same token, we're not going to rush anything. We're not in a hurry, right? So we're happy where we are. This is a dream of ours. So, a dream deferred is still a dream. So, but we'll continue to bring you guys updates, guys. I hope you learned something. I hope that was somewhat educational to you, and drop your questions in the comments if you have questions, ideas, if you've had a similar experience and maybe yours was different. I want to hear about it. Let's talk about it in the comments, guys. But I appreciate you tuning in to our channel once again. We'll promise to try to get you guys more content. We won't make you wait as long as we have. And we'll continue to drop stuff for you guys so that you're in the loop on what we're going through. But like I said, as always, guys, share the video, and of course, tell a friend about our channel, guys, and we'll see you next time. You take care. All right, bye.